A major news outlet has singled out cruising as the cause of the entire global pandemic. You can't make this stuff up, even if you wanted to. Royal Caribbean has canceled multiple sailings on 4 Florida-based cruise ships. And Hawaii is just 2 days away from being back in the cruise game. We're gonna give you updates. All this coming up on Midships. Hey, welcome to the Midships YouTube channel. I'm your Captain Corey, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. Well, there's tons of sensationalized news stories floating around out there about the safety of cruising during the pandemic, and we're going to get to that, including the story of how one media outlet is blaming the entire global pandemic on cruises. Are you even kidding me right now? So many of you probably clicked on this video because the thumbnail sent you into an instant rage, and we're going to get to that story in just a minute after I tell you another sensational story coming out of San Francisco about the Ruby Princess. Now remember, the Ruby Princess recently docked in San Francisco, and they randomly tested a quarter of the people on board their ship, and 12 of those individuals were found to be COVID positives. So now that should catch you up in what happened. Let's turn to SFist.com for this ridiculous news story. A Princess cruise ship docked in San Francisco Thursday morning after a COVID outbreak on board. The Ruby Princess is now docked in San Francisco with a number of confirmed COVID cases on board, and one passenger has said, "We're not getting tested, so the Bay Area is getting us as is." Amidst Omicron outbreaks and a COVID testing meltdown, the Bay Area is now in a full swing, unwelcome flashback to 2020, now that they've seen a cruise ship with a COVID outbreak docking right here in their own backyard. But whether this cruise was an absolute nightmare or a delightful carefree time at sea depends upon who you ask. One passenger, Joe Donnelly, said there was plenty of room on board to get around and added that everyone seemed to be happy and I didn't see any problems. But it's a very different story from other passengers from Mountain View, California, that said there was definitely an outbreak amongst the cruise dancers and performers, which the cruise ship seemed to want to sweep under the rugs. Ruby Princess passenger Serafin Castillo said the following: "We're not getting tested, so the Bay Area gets us as is," with no information about what happened here after the dancers, avid singers, and everyone else had to quarantine. Castillo and his wife said they had to isolate themselves in their room soon after learning the entertainment on the ship was canceled due to COVID amongst the performers. The article goes on to say, to point out the obvious, you should not be taking a cruise right now. There have been at least half a dozen cruises in or out of South Florida that have had recent COVID outbreaks on board, and the US CDC was quite blunt in their latest ship guidance. Avoid cruise travel, regardless of vaccine status. And author Joe Kukura wraps up this article by saying, Princess Cruises has little regard for that guidance from the CDC, and the very same cruise ship will set out with new passengers later this afternoon. So what a doozy of an article written by Joe Kukura. Joe, if you happen to be watching this, I would highly recommend learning a little bit more about the protocols on board cruise ships and what the CDC considers to be an outbreak on a cruise ship, because obviously you don't know what you're talking about. Now, I'm willing to bet a lot of you came here because of our thumbnail story, that cruises are now being blamed by one media group for starting the entire pandemic. And normally I'd make you wait until the very end to deliver those juicy bits, but I'm feeling nice today, so I'm gonna give it to you now. Right after I remind you that all the articles referenced in today's Midships episode are linked in the description below. Also down there in the description box, there is an Amazon influencers link that will take you to my Amazon influencer store. And in that store, there is some fantastic cruise swag that I take with me on every single cruise. I just recently added some shirts to that store that have been selling a lot lately, so I'd highly encourage you check it out. And one more thing before this story, I want to remind you that Midships is on Instagram. If you'd like to find us and give us a follow, just search for Midships Cruise. Now back to the cruise news. Well, I would assume that most of you out there have come for this story from The Guardian that insinuates that cruising is the reason we are in a global pandemic right now. I'm not going to make you wait anymore. Basically, the origins of this story are about that Ruby Princess that we just talked about that docked in San Francisco with literally 12 COVID cases on board. 12, compared to the almost 2,000 cases a day that they're seeing in San Francisco itself. Yet, this author, Josh Taylor of The Guardian, went on to blame cruise ships for the entire flippin' global pandemic. You can't make this stuff up. Let's read this ridiculous piece of journalism from The Guardian by Josh Taylor. Ruby Princess sparks COVID concerns after a dozen passengers reportedly test positive in US. It's nearly 2 years since a COVID outbreak when a ship docked in Sydney, resulting in over 900 COVID infections and 28 deaths. Local US media reported on Friday the ship is docked in San Francisco after a 10-day New Year's celebration trip to Mexico. With concerns, there has been a major COVID outbreak on board. A passenger on board, Diane Castillo, told NBC, "It was kind of disturbing that there wasn't more widespread announcements about this. I think the only reason they announced it is because shows were being canceled." Guardian Australia has sought comment from Princess Cruises, and a spokesperson told CBS the cruise was operating as a vaccinated-only cruise, with vaccine rates up to 100% amongst guests and staff, and rigorous cleaning was done on board. San Francisco reported 1,803 new COVID cases on Thursday, with the city experiencing a significant rise in cases. That's also being seen in many other parts of the world. And now we're to the paragraph of this article that's gonna make your blood boil. While a handful of cases on a cruise ship might not have had too much of an impact on the overall COVID transmission in the San Francisco Bay Area, the outbreak does draw attention back to the role cruise ships had in spreading COVID-19 across the globe in the early days of the pandemic in 2020. The role that cruise ships played in spreading COVID across the globe in early 2020. Just let that sink in for a second as you start to realize that The Guardian just literally reported that cruising is the reason we're in a global pandemic. The Ruby Princess itself is notorious for spreading COVID in Sydney at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. The ship was deemed low risk at the time by health officials and was allowed to dock in March 2020. All the passengers on board were allowed to disembark and travel interstate and overseas. This in turn led to over 900 cases of COVID and 28 deaths. And even though this is considered to be journalism, the author here provides zero sources for where any of these statistics come from regarding the Ruby Princess. Wow. Sorry, I had to take a little breath, walk away, and come back after that story because I am still fuming over what we just read. But the news must go on, and sadly, it's about multiple canceled cruises for Royal Caribbean down in Florida. That's right, we may be going into another soft closure of cruising. From cruiseindustrynews.com, Royal Caribbean cancels multiple sailings on 4 Florida-based ships. Cruise passengers set to depart on 2 Royal Caribbean ships this weekend were informed on Friday of cruise cancellations due to COVID-related circumstances. A total of 4 ships in the company's fleet saw cruises canceled on Friday afternoon. The Oasis-class Symphony of the Seas will see the January 8th cruise from Miami canceled, as well as her 2 following sailings, bringing the ship back to service January 29th. Royal Caribbean is also pulling the Jewel of the Seas out of service for the next month. The company says it should return on February 20th out of Miami. It's January 9th, and subsequent sailings are canceled until February 20th. Serenade of the Seas is also being paused out of Tampa and won't be back until April after a scheduled dry dock. However, it was set to sail again on January 8th. And the Vision of the Seas was set to restart January 24th from Port Everglades, and now that won't be happening until March, according to Royal Caribbean. So first, Norwegian Cruise Lines canceled several ships, I think about 8, and now Royal Caribbean, we've got 4 cancellations from them, but actually they have 5 ships currently paused because Spectrum of the Seas over in Hong Kong is also on a temporary operational pause. All right, so you've heard about the sensational stories, you've heard about the cruise cancellations. I want to hear from you now. What are your thoughts about the stories that we've shared so far in today's episode? Please comment them down below. I'd love to read your insightful comments. Now, it's been since 2020 since a cruise ship has been to Hawaii, but that's all about to change on the 9th of this month. Let's learn a little bit more about who the lucky first ship is gonna be. From KHON to Hawaii, Grand Princess passenger cruise ship set to dock in Honolulu, January 9th. By Max Rodriguez. After nearly 2 years, cruises returned to Hawaii amid a COVID surge. Officials say this is an agreement that's been in the works for months now. The Grand Princess, which is sailing from California, will dock on Sunday, January 9th in Honolulu. It's the first cruise ship with passengers welcomed here since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. So obviously, if we expect this cruise ship, the Grand Princess, to be on time in Honolulu this Sunday, she's probably already left for the islands. So I want to show you her progress thus far. And this is one of many free cruise trackers that's available online. You can see she departed from the port of Los Angeles, and she's currently on course for Honolulu. So I've been looking through the analytics of my YouTube channel, and I noticed only about 30% of you who regularly watch my episodes have officially subscribed to the channel yet. So what that tells me is you either have a fear of commitment or you just don't know where the subscribe button is. Well, I'm going to give you a little hint. It's right down there below the video. There's another button down there too. It's the thumbs up button. And if you hit it, it tells YouTube that you love cruising and you wish you could be on deck right now. And the reason I bring this up is because we have a major goal to hit a milestone of 10,000 subscribers by my birthday in the middle of March. And I'm pretty sure we can do it if you hit the subscribe button right now. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today. And until tomorrow, we'll see ya on the Midships.
La 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 la.